When we looked at the effect of the price ceiling in the market for student housing, we actually saw something that we're going to see again here in quotas, which is that every time we implement one of these controls within a market, we end up hurting two groups and helping one group, where the help exactly offsets the amount by which we're hurting another group, and there's a third group that ends up being hurt by the regulations. So let me explain that for the housing example. In the housing example, the group that was helped was the students, right? Because they end up paying less. And the one group that was hurt was the landlords because they were exactly worse off by the amount that the students were better off, right? When the landlords received only 2,000 instead of 2,500, they were $500 worse off, exactly offsetting the $500 better off that students were. But there was a third group that was harmed, and that was the people who would have liked to have traded in this market but now couldn't. The students who wanted to live off campus but now can't find a place off campus, and the landlords who would have liked to have rented to them but can't or aren't willing to at the lower price. So let's think about that now with respect to taxi licenses or taxi medallions. We'll do this in the world absent Uber and Lyft, and so let's assume these taxi licenses are quite binding in this case, that more people who want to, there's lots of people who would like a taxi license at the current price but can't obtain one. Okay, so who benefits from this? Well, who is it that is going to benefit from a limit on the number of people who are allowed to operate this business? Is going to be the ones who are allowed to operate in that business, right? Because they're going to be able to have lower competition, they'll be able to sell more, and they'll be able to charge higher prices. So now who gets hurt? Well, you're going to find a group that is basically exactly offsetting this benefit. So who is it that pays for this effectively? It's going to be consumers, right? The people who are taking taxi rides end up being able to find fewer rides because there's less competition, and they get charged higher prices. So that's the one group that's hurt by the quantity regulation, but there's another group that's hurt by the quantity regulation. Can you think about who that would be? It's going to be the people who would have liked to have been in this market but can't. People who would have liked to operate a taxi, who could have benefited from operating a taxi but aren't allowed because they can't get one of these licenses. That hurts those potential competitors, and that's a second group that's being hurt that isn't offset by a benefit to some other group.